Okay, so hi everyone, and I will present thesis on the topic of image and painting in Latin space. The work was supervised by Roman Ryzantsev and James Pritz. And I'll start with motivation to image and painting in general in this for this work. So in this thesis, we consider image and painting task, which is task of filling data in the mask regions with feasible results. This is ill-posed problem, meaning there could be more than one correct result, and it's often impossible to restore true input information during inference, which makes this task complicated. And by feasible, it means the following: if available ground truths, we want to be close to this image. Otherwise, results should preserve semantics and geometric structure of output image, and it should incorporate both local and global image statistics from the input image. And in this thesis, we consider in painting problems through the prism of Latin space, also known as feature space or embedding space, which is compressed lower dimensional representation of the data. And Latin space exploration is ideal in context of painting because masked image latent representation contains corrupted information, by fixing which we could improve quality of painting results, and thus we could and thus enhance semantics, geometry, and context of a result. On the right figure is illustrated uh, general representation of concept of Latin space. So we have encoder which encodes image to this Latin representation, and then decoder decodes from this Latin representation back to the image space. And on the right figure, we illustrate our main motivation to work within Latin space for painting. So on the first row, we have input images, and in second row, we take ground truth images and masked image, we encode them to this Latin presentation, subtract within the space, and decode back to image space. And so we clearly see that information from mask region is corrupted here, but also we see corruption outside the mask regions, which is main motivation to work within the space. And shortly, our main contribution is that conditioning encoder in the Latin space better than conditioning in the input space. Secondly, computing loss in Latin space reduce training time with improvement of quality. And lastly, we show increased performance of painting SOTA by using our encoder condition architecture and our change training protocol, including Latin loss. And moving to related work on which we built up our solution, and one of important related work is Latin diffusion model. In this paper was proposed to work in Latin space for diffusion process. So we have like encoder, decoder, pre-trained as after encoder. They encode image in this Latin representation Z, within which diffusion process is used. And after it finished, we use this last final representation to decode back to the image space to obtain final result. And this transition to the Latin space allow model firstly to save computation because this representation is smaller, thus diffusion process run faster. And secondly, within this compressed information, diffusion process could concentrate more on important, on restoring high level important compressed information in this Latin space. But compared to our work, we see that in this model, we still need to decode this Latin representation back to image space and then apply losses. And in our work, we show how we could omit this decoder part. Next model is Llama. Llama currently is important baseline for in painting, and with a strong SOTA model on which we ground our changes. So on high level, in Llama, we have a three-channel image which is concatenated with mask information. Um, then it's fed to downscale layers, which is encoder in other words. Then we have refiner blocks, which works in this latent representation to refine these features. And then we have scale or decoder, which decodes this representation back to image space. Importantly, here we have input conditioning with mask before encoder. In other work, we show how we could include this information into decoder and actually show it's even better than here. And secondly, in Llama, it's also used, all losses is also used after obtaining these final results. And in our work, we show how we could omit this upscale part. And for image encoder conditioning, our proposed encoder conditioning with mask is adapted from ControlNet paper. Initially, this paper was shown mechanism which allowed to use priest model to condition it on some information for fine-tuning, only a small part of it. And it was done by copying some layers of model, inputting condition on it, and adding back to the main forward through the zero convolution, which is convolution initialized by zero. And this zero convolution is essential because if we initialized with random values, it would have strong noise impact on the main forward, and with zeros, we could gradually fine-tune this. Okay. And final work is related work is Llama Refiner, and it's important to mention this work because it's first work where it was shown that optimizing features in this latent space could improve final result after decoding. So their idea is to use low resolution results, high resolution results, and we calculate the difference between these results. And our objective to optimize features of high resolution images, which improved the results on high resolution image. So problem setup, which we use for our experiments, and firstly is dataset. As our changes doesn't impact any dataset configurations, we reuse standard dataset and mask generation strategy. For dataset, we use places to dataset, which was proven to work within this in-painting task. And for mask generation, we use two strategies. Firstly is large random mask generation, and another is large box mask generation. And for evaluating our experiments, we use three types of metrics. First is image-based. It calculates statistics directly on the pixel information level. So we have window or patch statistics, which we compare against two images. And this matrix clearly shows that changing light conditioning still preserves this matrix high because SM maximum value of sim is 1. So in the middle image, we see that it's clearly sees that structure left the same, but on the right image, we see that structure was corrupted by removing frequencies, and then this matrix illustrates this. Next metric is LPIPS. So here we switch from image space to feature space representation. So we use some pre-trained feature structure, which use ground truth and predicted images, extract features from these images and calculate distance between them. And this metric shows more semantic similarity between two images. And last metric is French inception distance. This metric also feature-based, but compared to the previous metrics, it's more of statistic-based. So we have two sets of images. first set is our test images or like ground truth, and another set is generated images. We calculate features from these two sets and but independently from each other, and calculate French distance between them. And this allows us not to directly compare ground truth and prediction, but rather use high-level statistic about this. And moving to our proposed solution, first component of our framework is mask control mechanism, which is done by mask encoder and zero convolutions. Our goal is to reuse autoencoder pre-trained model as it done in latent diffusion model. But as illustrated in motivation slide, mask image latent representation is corrupted, so we need to count on this. Most standard way to cope with it to done to add one more convolution channel to the input uh, channel to the input layer and fine-tune it. But adapted from control net, we propose the following. We could have external mask encoder followed by zero convolution at few intermediate steps, after which we add the switches to the freezed autoencoder, which mark in orange in this plot. And this allowed to start refinement of corrupted latent space at early layers. And for experiments, we show that this modification actually perform better. So both experiments use original llama model, but it was initialized as autoencoder for encoder-decoder parts. In first, every scene was trained in training, but in second experiments, we freeze this encoder-decoder part. And it shows improvement. And interestingly, in second experiment, we have lower trainable parameter, but yet it showed improvement. And next component is latent learning, inspired by Llama Refiner and latent diffusion. We want to optimize or apply losses directly in latent space, which is less than pixel space and contains all meaningful semantic level information. And our target is to move our ground truth information to the latent space, so it would directly compare with refined features. And it could be done using the fact that we have an autoencoder, so we could encode our ground truth image from image space to latent space, and within this space we could expect that ground truth features and refined features would be closer, and theoretically optimizing these refined features would improve to better results after decoding, as it was shown in the Llama Refiner paper. And from our experiments, we managed to achieve this improvement. So in first and second experiments from mask control ablations, third is extension of first row. So everything, every layer was the same, but we changed loss from L1 distance in pixel space to L1 distance in latent space. And it shows significant improvement in training time, because we don't need to use decoder part to decode at each training step, but we see small degradation of feature-based metric, but on the other hand, in image-based metrics seem a bit improved. But later we incorporate mask control and latent loss into final force experiments, and we show that it saves this improvement in training time, but also it managed to highly improve the final metrics. And it's important to mention prediction error in third and fourth experiments. This two training doesn't have direct guidance from the pixel space, but yet we managed to like reprove the fact that improving features in latent space would improve pixel information, third decoding. And qualitatively, together with quantitative result, we show qualitative improvement of changes. With latent loss training model give better texture, but with both changes, it gives also much more information in mask region. And again, these three plots is far from ideal in painting results. But in this setup, we don't expect feasible results because we purposely left to use adversarial and perceptual losses for training to check the performance in isolation. But for the final, to make more comparable with, to achieve actually better in painting results visually also, we combine these all changes in final framework with Llama model. So firstly, we pre-trained autoencoder using encoder decoder from Llama to produce to work in as autoencoder. But for example, if we would work with pattern diffusion, we could skip this step because they already use autoencoder. Secondly, we add our mask control, which is done by mask encoder and this zero convolution here. Nextly, we have latent loss, which calculates before decoder. And actually, we want to use adversarial and perceptual loss for more clear result of in-painting. So for this, we need to do hybrid training, meaning that we have one loss before decoder, two losses after decoder. And for this, we need somehow to combine them. From our parameter search, we managed to converge this model using really small coefficient for latent loss. And our motivation here is that gradients from latent loss is much stronger here than it from the pixel space, because this gradient should go through decoder and this magnitude become lower here. But this is for future research. And for our final metrics, we compare Llama baseline model, which is fully same model as Llama, and losses fully fully the same setup for losses in first row, and we compare it with Llama with our framework from previous slide. So it has the same layers, but added mask encoder in this additional losses. And importantly, encoder decoder also was fixed in these trainings, and yet we lose this advantage in training time in this scale because we have to use decoder for this pixel space losses. But on the other hand, we got significant improvement in metrics. And for visual results, we select few samples from test images. So in first image, it's in better structure of laptop. In the second image, it's better information about the lag. And third image is less blurry. And in conclusion, our proposed encoder conditioning model is significantly better than conditioning in the image space. Practical benefit of using latent space with training speed and improved reconstruction accuracy, and we improved baseline with significant margin with the same training time. And so that's all. I'm ready to answer your question.
One, two, three. Okay. The question is, have you tried on other data sets, for example, your own images, because it looks like you can get good results, good metrics on only one data set. Have you tried transferability of your results?
Not actually, because we take like really big places data set which contains like, I don't know, 300 gigabytes of data, and it's usually in most of the recent papers it was compared only on this data set.
I understand that for comparison, it's absolutely true way to get this data set. But my question actually is, maybe your model can work only on these images because it kind of overfitted for them. A kind of, not exactly overfitted, but how we can check it? Because the problem is absolutely actual, absolutely good and understandable. But if the results are really transferable to other images, other conditions.
We didn't check this, but for like comparable amount of parameters is a network, and like model is much smaller than the like initial data set. It's first. Secondly, we use like every time we take photo, we use random mask. So actually, it's like if it overfit, it should like learn everything from the data set, which is like impossible because model is like few orders of magnitude smaller than the training data set.
Okay, and for this data set, you have a good kind of labeling verified by time and so on. So for new images, most probably you will have the same problems that it could not be compatible with requirements for the quality of image and these things. So why I'm asking this? Okay, thank you. I understand. Thank you.
Hello. I would like to ask you to clarify the contribution of this work. I looked into the problem setting section in your thesis and saw that you did something in data setup and you evaluated a model experimentally. In some other place, for example, in the conclusions, you also mentioned that you did some modifications to your background model. Could you please elaborate on that? Because there is a contradiction between these two sections.
We have two changes. Firstly is in
Could you please speak up?
yeah,
We're hardly trying to get what you say.
so first change is architecturally we add this conditioning. It improve metrics, and also we like on high level we show that conditioning in these intermediate layers improve result, and it's important notion because actually currently in all of the painting models conditioning is done by this last channel, and we show that could be done better. And secondly, we show this notion of latent learning. So we moved this loss from the pixel space to the latent space emitting encoder. It shows better results compared to the L1 loss. And together with it, it show much improvement in training time, which would help to better model select, and in future work it would move adversarial and perceptual losses also in this latent space to show much better results. And finally, we use all these changes with baseline model to show that within the same training time it gives better performance.
And why didn't you mention this piece of work in your problem setting section? Did you consider this to be a very minor thing to mention there?
Could you repeat the question?
I'm asking why you didn't mention this thing that you explained right now in terms of model improvement in your problem setup section. Did you consider this part of work a very minor thing, not very important?
I don't think it's actually related to the problem setting. Like in the proposed solution, it like fully described, but problem setting more about a data set setup and evaluation setup.
Okay. One more question, if you please allow me. You mentioned some future work in the previous answer. Could you please clarify a bit what has been done up to date in terms of your contribution and what is planned for the future work and why?
For the future work, as I said, we don't use perceptual and adversarial loss inside latent space because it's not directly applicable here. So we show improvement only in this L1 loss in latent space. So in future work, it could be also moved these losses inside latent space to fully skip decoder in the training time.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you for your presentation. I have a couple of questions. First, can you switch to slide number 15? No, 15, 5. Yeah, you have here this Frechet inception distance. What is sigma x, sigma y in your formula?
It's mean and variance of features.
But what features?
Ground truth features obtained from ground truth image.
But look, what are the features?
Embedding from the feature extractor network.
So these are embedding vectors, or
Yes.
what? What size are they?
I wouldn't say like right now. I think something like 500.
Mm-hmm. And then when you write the product of two covariance matrices and take square root, does it mean that your product is positive definite matrix? How do you take square root of this?
Could you repeat the question?
Well, you have square root of the product of two matrices. Is the product positive definite? How do you take square root otherwise?
I'm not sure how it like actually implemented because I'm more concentrated on this experiments part, and or like this magic calculation was like reused from standard implementations.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And then slide 21. Yeah, look, this doesn't seem very nice, and probably for so rich texture, patch match would perform better, standard patch match, isn't it?
Yeah, but in this ablation, like actually our target was not to get like nice looking results, but actually we qualitatively compare our modifications and to like just basically check that it's correlate with visual results. We visualize them, but actually in this setup we use only L1 training, and this means like we obviously would get bulked result, but in comparison in the other experiments we had these losses to actually achieve more distinctive results.
So it would be better to show also the better result obtained with complete or different loss function.
Actually, it's and actually here is final result. So like baseline with like baseline losses, and our with like our added loss.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Igor. I want to get back to the question from Taras about the images. So what are conditions for the input images? I'm interested in limitations of the images, like the ratio of mask to the whole size of the image and the structure of texture, so that your approach will get with the good results.
For training, we use two 156 squared images, and mask is not more than 50% of the image.
And what about overall scene? I mean, what is described in the image? Any relations to the structure of the image? Does it influence?
No. Like
It's your opinion, or you try different experiments? So, in terms of you mentioned this huge data set. So, what is the nature of images in that data set?
like here is one sample of different scenes, so it actually contains broad range of different scenes, and in our test suite we have like 30,000 images, which like subsample of this data set. So like I think it covers most of the possible scenes in training time.
Okay, and the second one is about infrastructure setup. Can you get back to the slide with the results and training time results? So what is the infrastructure setup for the experiments?
First and second row was done on two GPU 39.
One GPU. And what about inference time in comparison with the baseline?
Actually, inference time the same, because like it's actually the same model, but we added small mask encoder, so there's no improvement in inference time, just improvement for training time.
Okay, thank you.
As far as we're on this slide, what is written by light green on the white, please? I can't really see that. Could you please read for us?
You mean these green numbers?
Yeah. Are those numbers?
It's 33%. In red, it's plus 2%. In the green, it's minus 33% compared to the baseline. For pips, it's minus 9%. And for sim, it's plus 0.5%.
Thank you. I'm done.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. I'm also curious about this qualitative results comparison. For example, have you maybe tried visualize the the examples with the poor performance and with the good perform, like with the high metrics? And I would be curious to know whether this improvements is across the board, I mean, across all the categories of your data set, or like it's specifically maybe some categories that drive the metrics up?
You mean for this final result?
No, for all of the your evaluation data set. Have you tried visualizing like examples with poor metrics and high quality number metric?
Actually, like this matrix is statistical based more because like they averaging. So like there in other work in which it was shown that, for example, FAD is more compatible on a higher scale. So like we could not directly compare two image with FAD and like select better one.
Okay. I see. And clarify, do I understand correctly that this Llama baseline framework, is it currently like state of the art framework? And at least in your setup, you improve this state of the art, right?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to have a note to the committee regarding the review we received yesterday afternoon. Quoting the review, the thesis is likely to lead to one or several publications in the near future. The reviewer subsequently assigns the thesis the grade of B. The reviewer gives no rebuttable reasons for the grade assignment, which leaves no chance for Mr. Bobbin to respond. Given the praise of the reviewer for the technical merit of the thesis and a lack of specific rebuttable examples from the reviewer, I believe the grade recommendation is unjustified. It should be noted that Mr. Babin received the review yesterday afternoon, giving him little time for consideration.
Thank you. Any other questions, audience? Okay. Thank you, Ihor. Great timing. We have 5 minutes before the next speaker. Anton Brajny. Anton, you can prepare. Question: who is in the committee? And rotate the camera. Is it visible now in the committee? There is Oleksiy Molchanovsky, Vadim Yermolayev, Taras Pachenko, Rostislav Hryniv, and me. Yeah, so couple of organizational details for those who are joining us online, and if you want to have to ability to unmute yourself, please try to raise hand, and I will then unmute you. Is the possibility to raise hand here or turn on any emotion available to you? Yes, great. Then I can. I need to make myself a co-host. Okay. And then Будь ласка, зробити мене хостом. Я не бачу. Просто. Один, але ну добре. Yes. Okay. I enable the possibility to unmute. So you should now be able to unmute yourself. And yeah, so it's time to start our next thesis defense. And I'd like to introduce Anton Brajny, and he will be presenting a few short object counting using external visual prompts master thesis, and he is supervised by Konstantin Bohan. Please, Anton.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm going to be presenting my master's thesis, few short object counting using external. Yes, I'm going to be presenting my master's thesis, few short object counting using external visual prompts. So what is object counting? Object counting is the task of estimating the number of specific object instances present in an image. And there are several ways we can do this. The most straightforward one is directly predicting the object count, the number of objects, but this approach only works if the number of objects is quite small. The second approach is by detection, where the object count is just the number of the detected instances. However, this approach involves learning a lot of redundant information like precise object location, which is not needed for the object counting. And the third approach is a density-based, where we predict a density map, and the object count is just is obtained just by summing up the pixel values. There are different ways to generate a density map, but the most usual one is just by using a Gaussian filter on the object centroids. This also reduces the amount of notation needed as we do not need the bounding boxes around the objects, but just the points. And object counting has diverse applications spanning multiple domains, from traffic monitoring, retail analytics to inventory management. And in some domains, the objects may frequently change in appearance, or entirely new object categories may appear over time. For example, in logistics domains, in a warehouse, we can have new boxes, pallets, containers with slightly new shape or color appearing every week or so. And this requires extensive retraining, which is not practical
for real-world applications. So we need not only to be able to count the objects, but have to take into account the following factors. The first one is data scarcity, meaning that for some tasks there is simply not enough data to train a robust model in a traditional manner. And the second factor is the cost and time required for annotation. Even if we have enough data, we still need time and money to annotate it. So based on this, we formulate our goal as following. We want to develop a robust object counting method which can be easily scaled to handle a large number of categories, can be applied in various domains, and doesn't require extensive annotation. So what are the object counting? What are the existing object counting approaches? Object counting is generally divided into class-specific and class-agnostic. Traditional fully supervised class-specific methods focus on predefined object categories and require large amounts of training data. Weakly supervised methods reduce the amount of annotation needed, but they still need to be trained for each new object class. Class-agnostic methods, on the other hand, allow us to count arbitrary objects, even if they were not present during training. And class-agnostic approaches are divided into few-shot and zero-shot. Referenceless methods were a first step towards zero-shot methods. However, they generally focus on predominant object category in an image, so they are limited in a way that we cannot explicitly specify the object class we want to count. Text-guided methods is a promising research direction in zero-shot counting. They are based on vision language models and use text prompts to specify the target object, but using natural language to guide the object counting may introduce some biases, as some objects do not have concise textual descriptions. The second group, as I said, of classical methods are the few-shot methods, and they are divided into patch-based and support-based. In patch-based methods, we annotate several bounding boxes around the object of interest and pass them along with the query image to the model. This way, we directly leverage the visual information from the query image, thereby enhancing its contextual relevance, and thus patch-based few-shot methods generally perform much better than the zero-shot. However, there is one big limitation, it's that we need to get those bounding boxes from somewhere, and usually it's just manual annotation, which also is impractical for real-world applications. Few-shot support-based methods also use visual guidance, but unlike patch-based methods, they rely on the support sets, on some support set to extract the information about the target object. This support set is independent of the query image, and thus can be prepared only once in advance for a given object category. So we do not need any additional annotation during inference. This support set could be different. It could contain, for example, reference images showcasing the object of interest or object templates. In other words, it could contain, we could also use annotated patch exemplars, but annotate them on a different image. And also also support sets could comprise a pair of reference image with its corresponding target density map to specify the object of interest. Well, this approach sounds like a perfect choice for us, for our goal, but unfortunately, it is not well studied. A very limited amount of research was done in this direction, and to the best of our knowledge, there are only 3 works which explored this approach. only one paper was published, and the other two are just preprints. These works do not describe the designed architecture in sufficient detail. Also, these methods are not directly comparable to the patch-based and zero-shot methods because they were trained and evaluated on a completely different custom data sets, which weren't even shared in some cases. It's also important to know that there is no standardized terminology for those kinds of methods. In fact, the terms patch-based and support-based were also introduced by us. In the literature, they are both referred to as just a few shot, but we needed some way to differentiate between them. So what do we propose? We propose to develop a model which can count arbitrary object provided a few external visual prompts. External prompts is just an additional information provided to the model to guide the object counting. And the word external indicates that this information is not the part of the query image. This is contrary to the bounding boxes in the patch-based methods, which could be referred to as internal prompts. We consider three types of prompts. Basically, they are those types we have described during our review of support-based methods. The first prompt is a reference object image prompt, which comprises object templates. The second prompt is cross-image counting prompt. It consists of pairs of images with several bounding boxes per image that highlight the object of interest. And the third type of prompt is called termed reference counting prompt, which consists of pairs of image and its corresponding target density map. And the general pipeline is quite simple. We input a query image, and optionally any combination of the following of these prompts. And we want to get the density map for the object specified by those prompts. We also support the referenceless mode. So if no prompts are provided, we generate the density map for the most common object in the query image. Okay, so to implement our proposed solution, we introduced a novel architecture. It consists of three main modules: feature extraction, feature interaction, and density regression. The feature extraction module is designed to efficiently extract rich representations from the query image and from the provided prompts. And it consists of two primary encoders. The vision transformer encoder and a lightweight convolutional neural network encoder. And the transformer encoder processes the query image and the images from the cross-image counting and reference counting prompts, while the CNN encoder processes the object templates. We specifically use two encoders due to the different nature of those images, because query image and images from the prompts cross counting and reference counting are complex images with many objects and diverse backgrounds, while the object templates are simple, small image depicting only one object, so it's processed by a smaller network. The features, the extracted features from the prompts are then transformed into object prototypes, which are basically vector embeddings. And these vector embeddings, along with the query image features, are passed to the feature interaction module, which is designed to enrich them. The refined prototypes are depth-wise correlated with the query image features, producing a response map, which is finally transformed and upscaled to the density map. And the object count is just the sum of this density map. As you can see in the diagram, there is also an object prototype projection module. So what is its function? Given that the object prototypes come from various types of prompts, they inherently carry slightly different features. So to address this variability, we incorporate an additional projection module. It consists of a fully connected layer with an activation function, which is followed by the efficient channel attention layer. This channel attention layer dynamically adjusts the importance of each feature in the feature vector. By doing so, it enhances the most relevant features and suppresses the less useful ones. And as I said before, feature interaction module generalizes and specifically tunes the prototypes to the image features. It does so by alternating a sequence of self and cross-attention layers. Self-attention is employed on the object prototypes, allowing to utilize the interrelationships between them. And cross-attention is utilized to provide the interaction between the prototypes and the query image features. Here, the image features act both as key and value in the attention mechanism, while prototypes act as query. And this setup enables the model to directly align in the map the object prototype features against the image features. So effectively, it tunes the prototypes to be more contextually relevant to the specific image being processed. Okay, so we have a model. Now we need a data set. There are three class-agnostic datasets for object counting. The most commonly used one is FSC 147. The other two are FSCD LVIS and CA44. And each dataset has its own set of problems, like being too small or containing too simple images. Also, all these data sets contain some number of duplicates. In some cases, there's even an overlap between the test and training sets. So to address these issues, we created a unified data set by combining and refining the existing ones. We also additionally collected a number of images from the RoboFlow platform. We removed duplicate images and also refined object classes for consistency. Note that the dataset is split into training, validation, and test sets in such a way that there is no overlap between the classes in them. So the model is evaluated on classes that were not present during the training. We use standard metrics adopted in other object counting works, specifically mean squared error and root mean squared error. And the loss function is the normalized mean squared error loss between the ground truth and predicted density map. Okay, so here are the quantitative results. I need to mention that during training, the prompts are generated dynamically, and the prompt types are selected randomly for each batch. And for evaluation, we test each prompt combination separately. So we compare our model against three state-of-the-art methods. Basically, two state-of-the-art methods. It's counting, transformer, and loca. The FemNet here is the first model that was used for few-shot counting task. Okay, so on the unified data sets, our model also important to note that counting transformer is the only model that can work with working in the support-based mode, only using the object templates, while the other state-of-the-art can only use patch exemplars, and here they are specified as prompt P. Okay, so on the unified data set, our model achieves the results comparable to the patch-based methods, and it's also true for the reference-less mode. In the support-based mode, our model significantly outperforms the counting transformer. On the FSC 147 current benchmark data sets, we have a similar performance, but the performance between the patch-based and support-based methods here is the performance gap between patch-based and support-based methods here is slightly bigger. It's probably due to the smaller data set size, so our model underfits and cannot generalize as well as on our unified data set. Okay, we also analyzed the relation between the prompt type and the object size in those prompts. We categorized the objects by their area into small, medium, and large. And as you can see, cross-image counting is most effective with large. With large objects, while object templates works better with smaller objects. We think that this variation could be attributed to the fact that for small objects, the surrounding context, like background, can disproportionately affect the feature representations in cross-image counting, leading to some biased embeddings. Okay, so here you can see the some qualitative results. Specifically, we tested the performance using the cross-image counting setup for the same query image using prompts with objects that have slightly different appearance than in the query image. But as you can see, regardless of the appearance variations, our model accurately estimates accounts that are very close to the ground truth one. Okay. So we also tested the cross-dataset generalization capability of our model. In this setting, the model is trained on the FSC 147 dataset and is tested on the CarPK dataset, which features aerial images of parking lots and has only one object class, a car. And note also that these images with cars were excluded from the training set. Here is the complexity comparison. Our model has about 36 million parameters, 6 million of which are trainable. And despite featuring vision transformer as the backbone, the complexity overall, the overall complexity is not largely affected. Now let's talk about the experiments. For the VAT backbone encoder, we initially considered 4 different pre-trained models, one of which isn't even a transformer, but a CNN efficient net. This backbone selection in fact was conducted prior to finalizing the architecture. It wasn't so different from the final version, only missing the prototype projection modules. What we did is we trained our model with these backbones on approximately 10% of our data and only analyzed the convergence speeds and execution times. As you can see, the efficient transformer and efficient net have slightly better convergence, but they also have much faster execution. The choice was between those two, but ultimately we decided that efficient transformer would be a better option due to its multi-scale features. And we also performed an ablation study to test different architecture components and choices. We first examined the impact of the input image resolution. And as you can see, reducing the input resolution from 512, which is used in our approach, significant results in a significant performance drop. Also, we tested the importance of the object prototype projection module, specifically compared to 4 different architecture variants. One without the projection module entirely, one where projection module consists only of a fully connected layer, one with fully connected layer and channel attention, and one where channel attention is replaced with squeeze and excitation block, denoted by SE here. And as you can see, efficient channel attention and squeeze excitation both have top performance, but we chose channel attention due to it being more lightweight. And finally, we performed an ablation of the feature interaction module. Specifically, we tested different number of blocks of alternating self and cross attention. And we chose three layers as a compromise between accuracy and complexity. Okay, so to summarize, our main contributions are that we refined and combined existing data sets, class-agnostic counting data sets into one. We conducted a comprehensive review of object counting methods, addressed the problem of few-shot counting without extensive manual annotation, and presented a novel architecture which achieves state-of-the-art results. And future work could potentially include the investigation of cases where the model performs poorly to potentially improve its performance. We could also explore adaptive mechanisms for the prompt selection, also could try optimizing computational efficiency. And one interesting perspective is the adaptation of the proposed approach for the to the few-shot object detection task. Okay, so presentation is concluded. Thank you.
Anton, anyone would like to start?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Seems like no. 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Looks like very promising. But the question is, can you make a live demo? Right now, open a random picture of crowded image, like people or heads, and show how they can calculate a count of people on the image.
Well, I think I definitely could, but the thing is that it's a working laptop, not my personal one, and I don't have the access to the server right now.
If servers and remote only, and
it's on the model currently is on a remote server, past AI platform.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay, and does it work? Okay. So thank you for the presentation. I have one short question. Why the main quality of the performance is MA or mean squared error? Wouldn't be more natural to count relative errors, not absolute ones, because the difference of 5 between 5 and 10 is not the same as 100 and 105 or million and million and 5, while your metrics
treat these as equal?
Yes, I can understand and completely agree, but we used specifically those metrics, mean squared error and root mean squared error, because they are the standard metrics in the literature, and all other works use them. I'm not sure why mean average percentage error or some other relative metrics were not used. To the best of our knowledge, we haven't seen any mention of them in the literature. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we definitely we definitely could evaluate the performance using the relative errors in the future work.
Okay. Perhaps that was the reason that the model better works on smaller objects, as I noticed in your evaluation experiment,
yeah,
in the table somewhere.
what slide was it? This one or?
Yes, you may see it better works on smaller objects.
Yeah,
Probably
well, it
because of
depends on the prompt.
absolute versus the relative metric. What could you say? What does your backbone say?
But well, I'm not sure why you think this relates to the relative errors. This object size is not the number of objects, but like the area of the object itself.
Okay, size.
Object size is object size like in pixels, not the number of objects in the image.
We're talking about the size of an object.
Yes.
So the difference between objects are measured in an absolute measure. In your implementation, what has been pointed by Professor Kriniv, right?
Yeah. Yes.
This is why I'm just emphasizing. This is why it perhaps works better on smaller objects. But if it changed to relative measure, it would be a slightly different performance, not that dependent on the object size.
Well, it could definitely be, but as you can see, it depends on the prompt. So some prompts work better on large objects, some on the small ones. Yeah, in average, yes, I agree that large objects have smaller error, but maybe just randomly.
Okay, I'm curious if you could please show us in the evaluation result tables what were the cases of good and bad performance.
This evaluation tables?
Yeah, somewhere. I'm referring to your future work statement. That
the least accurate one is the prompt where we pass an image with its corresponding density map. It's specified as prompt K here, and as you can see on both data sets, it has the largest MIE and RMSE. But this is probably due to the fact that from this prompt, we only get one object prototype, while from the other, we get three. So the model effectively like works in a one-shot setting instead of a few shot. Maybe we could, I don't know, make some smarter extraction of prototypes from this prompt. But regarding the future work, I think you're referring to the, I'm sorry, adaptive mechanisms.
To the first bullet, yeah. I was just wondering if you have not if you have not seen the cases of poor performance.
Yeah, yes. So about the if we talk about qualitative results, we yeah, obviously there are cases where the model performs poorly, but we haven't conducted a comprehensive analysis of what those cases are.
And you opportunistically put it to the future work.
Well, it was stated in the review of our thesis, so
Yeah, yeah.
well, that's why.
I saw the review,
Yeah.
and this is why I'm asking.
Yeah, that's no.
Thank you.
You mentioned that you provided SOTA results. So can you again elaborate on this? What were the proofs of your SOTA?
Okay, so the first SOTA is on the cross dataset generalization. Well, LOCA is the current state of the art on this task. And on the FSC 147 datasets, well, here, as I said, on these benchmark datasets, we have SOTA results in referenceless mode, but that's not very interesting for us. Here, the support-based mode doesn't have SOTA results because, as I said, we believe that due to the small dataset size, our model doesn't generalize well enough. So as you can see, the difference between the metrics of support-based and patch-based methods on the benchmark dataset is larger than on the unified dataset. But if we take a look at our dataset, you can see some metrics highlighted in bold, and basically, if you use all combination of external prompts, we achieve the results, well, the same results as the current state of the art. But one advantage is that it's support-based methods, so we do not need to annotate this image during inference.
Yes, that is what I'm seeking for, because if we're talking about this unified data set and patch-based, local patch-based is better.
Yes.
So I mean, it's not right to just like mentioning we got SOTA, because there is many conditions of your SOTA, right?
Well, yes, local is slightly better because it utilizes information from the bounding boxes, like their coordinates and other stuff.
I understand this question of how you frame your
yes.
sentence. Okay, and then back to data set. You didn't mention this on your slides, but in your thesis, there is those classes, and there you compare the classes like animals, transportation, and etc. And I'm curious whether it's right way to compare the objects, because probably it's not important for this specific task that we compare, like we distinguish objects from like horses and vehicles, but mostly about their structure or, I don't know, visual representation.
Yes, I agree that the actual object class is not that relevant, but maybe some object classes, as you said, categories, maybe some different features, textures, and it was important to know that we cover a whole range of different domains. So, yeah.
But have you investigated those different classes of texture?
No, not specifically.
Okay. And then the reviewer mentioned that it would be great to discuss cases with where your approach shows weak results.
Yes.
So, for instance, I'm curious, what about overlapping objects? Overlapping.
Yes, overlapping, but I'm not sure that would be such a problem because our target, the density map, and well, not it's not specific to our work, but to all other works. Density map was specifically designed to work with occlusion and heavily images with high number of objects. So, well, we can have some problem, but I'm not sure they would be that.
Yeah, so let's assume you do not have images, example images with these overlapping objects, but let us assume we have two donuts, and we starting to overlap them. At which moment the model will not distinguish them as two separate objects?
Well, I'm not sure the model distinguishes them in a way that you think. I mean, the object count would like become smaller and smaller. So if we overlap two objects, maybe it would count as not two, but 1.5, because we predict the value for each pixel separately. So it doesn't matter if the objects are fluid or not. Maybe if only half a donut is visible, it will count as a half.
Have you run such experiments?
No, we haven't.
Okay, thank you.
First, there was a comment from online audience that the graph suggests that the training was far from over and Dino V2 might overcome the rest. So maybe you can comment on that.
Yeah, it's definitely good, but we are constrained by our, sorry, where was it? In the end, I guess. Yes, as you can see, we are constrained by our time and cost resources, and the Dino and IJEPA only provide the standard vision transformer backbones, and they have inference. They have execution times which are by an order of magnitude larger than our models. So yeah, maybe it's good to have achieved better results, but we didn't have enough time.
Excuse me, I have another comment. Like, I fully get that. Okay, the Dyna is like much hard. Like, it's like 5 times more expensive. But which means that like if you can train the Dyna for 10 epochs, this means that you also can train like your efficient things for like 50 epochs and have much better results probably than showed here. Or it's just like preliminary study and you train for longer your final model. That is what the question also.
Yeah. So this exact experiment is as I said, it wasn't even, it was conducted before finalizing the architecture. It was missing an object projection modules, and it was designed solely to select a backbone. The whole training is run on and also this experiment was conducted on a 10% of the training data set, while the complete training is performed obviously on a full data sets for about 60 epochs. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so maybe related to what Alexei was asking is that, as far as I understand, you output kind of as this kind of a segmentation mask, and it doesn't count for instances, right? So, and he was asking when two separate instances become one. That's just.
Well, yes, it's kind of.
I'm also just curious about, like, I understand you have the ground truth, and I'm curious, are there any numbers reported for the human level of performance? Does human always count like correct number of objects? And what is the tolerance level of like real world applications? Like,
well, I don't know about the human level performance, but I'm sure it is much better than the current approach. But the problem is that the current approach is a few shot, not a traditional one. So it, of course, has some high errors. As for the production, although, sorry, where is the table? Although we have average error of about 10 in some cases, but important to know that it's calculated on images that can have thousands of objects, and also for real world applications, I would suggest that you would have kind of a similar object classes. So if you, as for example, for the logistics domain, if you train on pallets and then want to count like boxes or containers, the performance will be much better than here, because here we can train on animal cars and count biological cells or something.
One very short follow-up. In all your applications, you had very similar objects that you count, similar in size, in shape. What if you are interested in some species, for instance, but they can be young and adult, so larger and smaller, similar copies of the same target object?
Yeah, well, not sure how it would affect the performance, but yeah, that's true. In our data sets and in all the existing data sets, the objects, all the objects in the image have about the same size. So if if the size varies significantly, the performance may drop, but it needs to be tested.
Thank you so much, Anton. Один. Сильно краще. Один. Ну, я. Це він буде нормально, він не буде. Просто і не рухати цю кнопку. Один.